Now, I'm too young to remember this song, but my parents really loved ABBA. They went to see the Bjorn Again, the parody band, quite a couple of times. I think this song was brought out in about the 1960s, but its overall narrative has more relevance now than it has in years. A lot of people don't really have much money, but then there's some that do. Organisations, people and some countries are really not feeling what we call the credit crunch. One of these organisations is the Vatican. The Vatican is one of the world's most mysterious institutions. It has millions of faithful followers and a head figure loved across the globe. The Catholic Church is wealthy, very wealthy. But where does it come from? Where is it kept? And what happens to the money kept within its secretive walls? In a day and age where transparency and public appearance is incredibly important to quell rumours of corruption, it's no surprise that a society that keeps its cards so close to its chest has had so much scrutiny over recent years. One branch within the Vatican's jurisdiction is the Institution for Works for Religion, or the IOR. It's commonly known as the Vatican Bank. Its secretive running has caused controversy, especially since the financial crisis of 2008. A lot of people, businesses and countries don't have much money, so when other people do, they kind of take an interest. They want to know where it comes from, how much there is, and what they do with it. But the Holy Father isn't exactly one to bow to pressure. Now, this isn't a bank in the common sense of the word. The Vatican Bank is considered a non-profit organisation, where a normal bank would be a for-profit organisation. I spoke to Lisa Bradley, Head of International Business at the University of Ulster.
It doesn't have any shareholders and then it wouldn't pay out any dividends. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't create a surplus on its investments, but in fact that surplus revenue is actually used to support religious works.
Now, who can hold an account within this institution? You'd have to be a pretty big dog in the Catholic world to get into this very tight-knit circle. Now, the Vatican like to refer to these as funds because of its standing as a non-profit organisation. So what kind of people have funds in here?
You're allowed to open a fund there if you're considered by the religious order to be a very senior official within that institution.
It has over 33,000 funds on its books, and nobody really knows the extent of its assets, though they are estimated at around €6 billion. That's in and around the £5 billion mark. Now, as you may or may not know, the Vatican is a city-state, a landlocked country within the city of Rome. It makes its own laws and regulates itself. It is in fact the smallest independent state in the world. This city-state actually has a relatively large economy given its size, and in essence the IOR holds its wealth. Now, in Britain, like most countries, we have a central bank which regulates the flow of finances and the setting of interest rates. We have the Bank of England and Mervyn King, who would support government policy to generate wealth in the economy. I asked Lisa if the Vatican Bank's assets are directly linked to the state economy.
Within the Vatican city-state, it doesn't have a central bank. Instead, it has essentially a central bank function that's regulated with the monetary agreements between the EU and itself. It actually has the euro as the official currency, and actually its economy runs on the fact that it makes sufficient income, from example, the selling of entry fees to a number of its museums.
As I've already said, many people and institutions don't have much money, so they're interested in others who do have some. On a global scale, the IOR is a definite matter of interest and is the subject of ongoing investigations.
The economy is looking much closer at how financial institutions work, what's happening to people's money, what's happening to people's investment, and as a result of that, the Vatican Bank would be considered to be part of that opening up of transparency and ensuring, for example, that there isn't money laundering going on.
This is harder than it looks, though. The EU can't just march in and rummage through all the files related to the Vatican's wealth. Remember, the Vatican is its own state and is required to investigate itself. The Pope isn't going to arrest himself for fraud, is he? Now, I'm not doing this to kick the Pope, as we say in Northern Ireland, but if I'm discussing the Vatican Bank, it's something that does need mentioned. The IOR is not going to be under the same regulatory pressures as a public bank like Northern Rock, for example. It's not required to publish accounts or quarterly profits. It's only accountable to its own members. In these times of austerity, it's important to keep financial crime to a minimum, as it's very costly to the global economy. I'm not saying the Vatican Bank has been involved in this, but every financial institution needs to be regulated. Won't it be interesting to see if the EU forces more transparency on the IOR in the near future? At the moment, they really don't have the right to do so. My name's Andrew McNair, and you've been listening to The World of Money.